Hi everyone, Donna here. I'm the owner here at Bookkeeping Made Simple, and I want to talk a little bit about the power of the outsider. Okay, not necessarily the outside expert, although a lot of times the outsider that's going to help you the most will be the expert. I do feel like over the past year we've seen that the definition of expert, and a lot of times, is that X is an unknown factor and expert is a drip under pressure. But an outsider often will come in and either see the things that you know about but you didn't know what to do about, or they'll start pointing things out that you hadn't thought of because they have a fresh perspective on things. And this is what an outside consultant does. Like I said, this is going to be a huge part of my business moving forward. I do plan to work more on the consultation and side, especially when it comes to helping you maximize your tax savings. But I keep watching. A couple of our favorite shows are Kitchen Nightmares. I know that's an older show. Gordon Ramsay, they're just so entertaining. And Hotel Impossible. And they are, both expert. An expert comes in and basically takes a look around and says, you're screwing things up. No wonder you're losing money. And a lot of times it's little things. It's little things. It's like, I've told my kids for years, the difference between poor quality and high quality is just this much difference when it comes to service. It's consistency, it's responsiveness, it's just a little bit. It's a little difference. So when Gordon Ramsay or Anthony Melchior comes in and they see, they take some time to see what is actually going on in the business. Gordon will eat a meal. We still crack up at the graces. He says, please, dear Lord, don't let me get food poisoning again like I did last week. And Anthony will walk around the property and and he'll talk to customers and or guests, and he will be talking to people, and he will be looking around and seeing the things that the owners have seen often for years, but because they see it every day, they don't really see it. It's like going nose blind. After a while, if you're around a stinky teenager for a while, you don't really smell it, because then that's why, if you go to a good perfume bar, they will have coffee beans for you to smell in between, because that gives you something different to smell, kind of like a cleansing, so to speak. So this is where the value comes in. Gordon, Chef Ramsay, and Anthony have nothing really to gain. Okay? They're not coming in to invest in the property, although they may make some investments. They are not there to pull the wool over anyone's eyes. It is their expertise that they are really selling. So they come in and they start looking at how things are going to be, how things have been done. And how is the food? How is the dinner service? He's gonna, Ramsay's gonna sit back and watch the dinner service and just watch to see how that restaurant is normally run. Then he's going to talk to some of the guests and ask them, how did you like your food? What did you think? He's going to talk to the servers and say, what were the customers saying about the food? What complaints were you getting tonight? If anything goes back to the kitchen, then he wants to talk to the owner about, this is why this is going back. And Anthony on Hotel Impossible does the same thing. He watches to see, he looks into the books, and they both look at the books. And that's a critical part of it. They need to know if they're winning or losing in these in these restaurants and hotels. So then they come in and Anthony will say, you know, the rooms are dirty, there's scuff marks along the walls, and almost every time the owners will say, I didn't really notice. We become kind of blind to the things we don't want to see, and that's where the outside expert helps a lot. I've had clients swear up and down to me that they were going out of business, and I said, well, yeah, that's a very real possibility, but the problem is not your profitability per se. The problem is your cash flow. It's that you are taking out loans when you shouldn't be taking out loans. So you need to take a look at the statement of cash flows. Let's take a look at that. Let's look and see how fast your inventory is turning over. Let's take a look and see what your customers are saying. Let's look and see, you know, let's look at a bunch of other things. What you think is a problem might not be the problem. And you can have a business that's profitable on paper and completely destroy that. I've seen it happen. So, always interesting to hear what's going on in the next room. I'm hopeful that none of the yelling comes on video. So, and it's things you will notice on these shows, things like the cleanliness of the establishment's always an issue, always, always. So the owners are not seeing the dirt and grime anymore because it's been there for so long. And they don't really realize, they're not looking at it through the lens of a guest. Okay. An outside consultant comes in and they start looking at it as a guest. They look with fresh eyes. They come in and they start seeing things that either the owner sees but he doesn't want to admit that he sees, or he didn't really ever think about. And then of course they come up with a plan to rescue this business. And most of the time, which really makes me sad, most of the time it doesn't work. And it doesn't work because in a week, you can't revamp a business. It takes months to a year to work with a client to really get them to, not just to see what needs to be done, but to help them overcome their habits. So it takes time. These are habits that weren't, it's like going on a diet, you know, these are habits that you did not develop in a weekend or in a week, and they're not going to be resolved in a week. So, but, you know, for the sake of television, they have to do it in a week. It's always really, sometimes it works, and when it works amazingly well. I've seen episodes of both shows where, you know, they come back 6 months or a year later and the business is thriving because the owners wanted to make the changes and they were motivated to make the changes and they were willing to do what they were told to do. It's that way in real life. When you have a motivated person who really wants to grow their business, they really, really, truly want things to change, and then we come in as an expert, not necessarily an expert in their business, just an expert in business, and we start saying, okay, this is what I see in your books. I see that you are spending money for personal reasons out of your business account. Why are you doing that? What is your, what's your thinking on that? You have a personal account. Why did you not just transfer that money to keep things separate? Most of my clients will come to me and they will say, well, I'm going to be very careful about not commingling, and they mean well. And then I still have to go back and say, okay, yeah, what exactly did you buy at that place? It's probably not for business because it doesn't have anything to do with your business. So there's all that. It's just critically important. And it's important to have an expert come in fairly regularly. And again, I'm not saying an expert in your business. You don't need Gordon Ramsay to come in and look at your restaurant and tell you what's going wrong. You just need someone who's objective and can kind of look to see what, what's that the food's not getting out. Why is the food not getting out in a timely manner? Let's go in the kitchen and take a look. Someone who's a complete outsider is going to be able to make those observations, even if they don't know that much about the restaurant business. If they understand business, they'll be able to talk to you about customer service. Restaurants especially are difficult to run. Restaurants and hotels are highly competitive, as is accounting and bookkeeping. We're just living in a more and more competitive world, and I am a firm believer that for anyone that cares about their clients and their guests and really treats them, that's why I don't call my clients customers. It's because I want that warm blanket of them actually being my client. I'm invested in them, at least emotionally. When you have someone that's willing to come in and take a look at how things really go, and then tell you, honestly, one, it's important to pay for that once in a while, at least once in a while. Two, it's important to take those statements and understand that it's not an attack on you. I see this every time I watch these shows. The owners will take it as a personal attack. And it's not, has nothing to do with that. It is how do you want your business to run? And if you want it to be successful, you have to give the customers what they want. So we're focusing more on the consulting side, the coaching side. I'm really working hard. The first thing I'm working on is tax strategies. Some of them you actually should know, and some of them you might not. But the time to think about tax strategies for your tax bill in 2022 is today, in February of 2021, because we need to start implementing them now. I'm really concerned about a couple of tax clients that I have. I'm doing their books or doing their taxes and coming up with large tax bills and just kind of sitting back going, I could have saved them so much money that year if they had been talking to me that year, not 5 years down the line when they finally realized that they needed to file. I could have saved them so much money, but they didn't have an expert. And so many times it just takes an outsider to look at them. I am an expert in tax preparation. That is one of the things I do. But the big benefit is that I can look at the books. I can start running some ratios. I can start asking some questions and start pointing out some ways to improve your tax bill. And that means we want it to go down. Improve the way you run your business so that you keep more of that money in your pocket. So you can actually see what the expense is of what your payroll is. You can improve your profitability, your cash flow. You can improve what your balance sheet looks like with a few adjustments. And many, many times I've seen so many clients do things like they'll take out a loan, a personal loan, to pay operating expenses when that's not necessary. And then I'm just like, oh, what are you thinking? Don't do that. It would almost be better to run up a credit card than it would be to finance things that way. Almost, not quite, but almost. And then they start digging themselves into a hole because now their cash flow is not sufficient to pay the loan and the operating expenses, so they take out another loan and another loan and another loan. And I'm just going, you can't do that. If you're going to take out a loan, have an asset against it. If you're taking out loans to cover your operating expenses, there's a problem. So here's my challenge for you. Give us a call 801-692-0032. We would love to come in and take a look at your business. Currently, we're offering the in-person in Utah only, just because of travel being so strange right now. But it will be coming nationwide. We will start by looking at your books. And the first thing I always look for how the books are managed. I can tell by looking at a chart of accounts what kind of a disaster I'm getting into. I don't even have to see the numbers. I can tell by looking at the chart of accounts if these books have been well taken care of. Generally speaking, big long charts of accounts of everything separated out by operating expenses and sales expenses and management expenses, and those are not typically necessary for the small businesses that we work with. We can do that, but account numbers at the low level of bookkeeping that we do with the small businesses, unless you become a huge publicly traded corporation, those are typically not necessary. We can organize your chart of accounts. Another thing that I see that immediately will make me raise my eyebrows is if they have a line item in the chart of accounts for each vendor that they pay or each customer they receive funds from. That is an instant no. We don't need to do that. Those all need to be grouped together. We don't need sub-accounts with people's names on them. That is absolutely ridiculous. And that tells me a lot, actually, about the people running the business right off the bat. Tells me a lot. And now, that's not all bad, but it does tell me, straight up that whether or not they know anything about running accounting, running a business. And many, many times, I actually do run into people who are making money in their businesses almost in spite of themselves, just because they're making more than they can spend. I can talk about a few red flags. As soon as I suspect the spouse has the company debit card, you might as well just close up. That's the big red flag to me that the business is going under, is that one of the spouses is spending money out of the business when they are not a partner in the business. And it becomes very, very clear. I mean, I have had times when I could track the spending and I could say, oh yeah, she's going right around the mall, okay? She took the business card and she was embezzling funds. That's what it is. Some other things that we look for, well, I look for a lot of things. I will take the time to really dig into the books, put things in a spreadsheet, run some ratios, really start looking at, what according to this would you be spending in income tax if it's corporate. I will kind of start really looking into what you could be paying in income tax in different entity organizations. I will also start looking into what can we do to bring your taxable income down in a way that's legal. I've often said, I had a gal in my office saying she didn't want to get too crazy on the tax savings strategies. And I said, no, my reputation's on the line too. So if I'm sending in incorrect, poorly done, if I can't give the IRS some sort of defense of this is why I did it this way and not because I guessed, then I won't do it. If I can't explain to an auditor from the IRS that, no, this is perfectly legal according to this, and this, and the tax code, and these other, court decisions, then I'm not going to do it. I am not going to get that close to the edge, because I see all the time where tax preparers get into a lot of trouble for going over the edge. So, so while we're not insanely conservative, we are, we're going to do things the right way, the legal way, the way it was intended. So that's kind of it for today, and I will talk to you more tomorrow. I think I'm going to stay on this topic this week, this idea of having an outsider come in and take a look at your business. I have noticed that people are coming back to work, they're starting to open their businesses again, or they're closing them, one of the two. They're making a decision at this point of whether or not they're going to try to keep going or whether or not they're just going to close. And you know, now's the time for that. It really is. Now's the time. This has gone on for so long that it's time for people to decide one way or the other. Either they're all in or they're all out. And if they're all in, then I would love the opportunity to sit down and really take a look at how your business is being run. And yes, I can tell fairly quickly whether or not it's being run well. So give us a call, 801-692-0032. Contact information will be in the description below. So yeah, feel free to reach out. Thanks for watching.